Shall we start?
Can I stop? Full slide full mode.
This is full screen.
No. I'm running mode में रख दीजिए.
It's not full screen.
Yeah, it's not. नीचे वो नहीं, इसमें मत करो. इसमें कब से बोला अदरवाइज F5 कर लो. अच्छा,
ठीक
आप
है.
या आपकी शेयरिंग के टाइम पे
हाँ.
प्रॉब्लम मैं समझ में आ गया.
हाँ.
ऑल टैप करके
हम्म.
ऑल टैप दबाओ और वन बाय वन जाके जो फुल स्क्रीन वाला में ये करो. जस्ट टेक
हम्म.
उन तीनों के बाद क्या है ना, ये वाला
क्या दिख रहा है?
Can you see now?
No, it is not running now.
क्या उसे जगह अंदर डालने. हाँ, मैजिक. अब वो धूल बैठ जाती है, क्या करने का उसका?
Escape. रुको. Escape.
इसके बटन ये ना
उसी के ऊपर पड़ेगा.
ये when you click in this,
हाँ.
ठीक है, यही दिखाएगा. ये आ गया, नेक्स्ट में ये आएगा.
Okay.
तो ये बस ये अभी आ गया.
Like normally I have to move.
नहीं आया. देखते हैं क्यों नहीं आया. आना चाहिए, आ ही नहीं रहा है. What is this?
What is the problem?
मैं आया नहीं है ना, फुल स्क्रीन वाला नहीं आया.
From my side, तो it is very much clear. वैसे तो जैसे clear.
आपको नहीं, आपको तो ठीक है. जूम से डिफरेंस है ना.
नहीं तो हम गोल में करते तो हैं हमेशा. हाँ. ये इधर ये रहा. This is ये रहा का मीटिंग. ठीक है. हाँ. ये रहा. बस this is what I'm doing.
नहीं, ओके. ये काम करना है आपको. ये रनिंग में है. ठीक है.
कंट्रोल ऑल्ट टैब. अच्छा.
ये आ रहा है.
ये देखो दिख रहा है कि नहीं होता.
ये विंडो.
ओके. अब शेयर करो.
ये आ गया. हाँ, आ गया.
Okay. Welcome students. I hope I am audible and visible as well. Okay,
Yes,
let's start. Yeah, let us start with the topic managing the land for sustainable development. Land is a kind of an overlooked, ignored kind of a resource because not much has been said and done for the land as compared to the other resources. Forest resources, water resources, generally they take more attention when it comes to natural resources because land is generally considered to as taken for granted, and we are mostly ignoring the benefits that we are getting from the land. So in today's session we will be knowing about the various features of the land and the different types of land which have their own importance and how they can help in the sustainability and sustainable development. So students, let us first understand that what is a land, because there is a difference between land and the soil. When I say soil, it is the soil where the agriculture takes place. But when I say land, it encompasses many more things. It has a soil as a part, but along with that, land also means minerals. It means the various organisms which are present in the soil. It means the various life support systems that are done by the land in the form of agriculture, also providing habitat to various living organisms. Minerals are there on the land, we live on the land. The different types of communication, transportation activities take place on the land. So land is much above the soil, and we must know that land is a resource. It is a resource because human civilization, as we all know, has taken shape on the land. We have, evolved with the Indus Valley civilization. Most of the civilization have taken place and taken birth. They have flourished on the banks of the various rivers. So that is a land. It provides livelihood to a vast majority of the population in the form of industries, in the form of agriculture, urban development, so many types of activities. Around 40% of the livelihood are dependent upon land, either directly or indirectly. So, not only the land has a tangible benefit in terms of the resources, in terms of the minerals that we get from the land, but apart from it, the indirect value of the land is much more. So we must consider it as a very important resource. And another important thing is that it is a finite resource. It doesn't increase in number with the passage of time. We cannot extend our limits of the land, because if you know, earth, if you consider, 70% of it is covered by water and 30% of it is land. So if you look into that also, we have less land as compared to the water resources. And out of that 30% land also, 40% of the land, it is believed that it is in a degraded shape. It is facing innumerable problems. It is not the quality as it was before because of various natural and the anthropogenic reasons. Also, valuable minerals, which are the base of our industries, of our communications, of our improving, you can say, the life of the people, the standard of living of the people, also depends upon the resources, the particularly the minerals that we get from the resources. The fossil fuels are provided by the land, and they form the energy bulk. We rely on the sources of energy which we are getting from the land. Apart from that, the other economic and benefits of land include tourism and habitation, ecotourism, and so many things that we are getting from the land. So it is a valuable natural resource. It is a finite natural resource, and therefore, looking into the present context, before we move on to the different types of the land that we have, we must ensure that we should make all our efforts for the conservation of the land so as to obtain proper utilization of the land and its functions. So, learners, where is land? It's a very common term, but on earth, if you explore, if you look around, you find different forms of land. We have mountains, hills, plateaus, and plains. These are the major land forms that are quite visible. And when you compare these four, you will find that each form of the land inhabits a certain section of the population. It has resources in the form of forest, grasslands. It has a huge biodiversity in it. It has different economic functions that we are getting from that. So if you think about India, if you explore mountains, hills, plateaus, and plains, we have all the four landforms in our country. And because of this, we are getting the benefits of the different landforms which we have. Although plains constitute the major landforms here, where it is 40% of the land, it is the plain region. Then we have the mountains, then we have the plateaus and the hills in our country. Owing to different landforms, these landforms are utilized for various purposes. For agriculture, naturally for forest cover we are having, for mineral exploration, for building of the, you can say, roads, highways, the different types of activities, urbanization is quite visible in these different landforms which we have in our country. So moving forward, if you look into this, 43, as I said, 43% of the land in our country is plain land, which constitutes the major bulk for the agricultural sector. We are dependent upon agriculture, so most of the agriculture which is practiced here is in the plain areas. Here we have started up lot many irrigation projects with the help of dam construction and so on. Lot of industries have come up in this area, and it constitutes one of the you can say most fertile regions of our country, where we can get lot of economic returns out of this land. But however, the sustainability of this landform, which is at present giving us so many benefits, always comes under a question mark. But because with the passage of the time, we are losing this valuable resource. We are losing the quality of this resource. Similarly, 30% of our land is constituted by mountains and hills. Most of the rivers have their origin in the mountains, and these mountains are fragile ecosystems. They are hurt by the anthropogenic activities, which include construction of the roads, buildings, and so many types of environmental pollutants which are being emitted because of industries and other human activities. So there is a troll on this type of landform or the ecosystems also. Again, we have the plateau region, which is the Great Deccan Plateau, the peninsular India of our country, and this region abounds in the rich mineral wealth. These minerals are important for our industrialization. We are getting these minerals, we are exporting many of the minerals, we are using these minerals for our economic development in the construction, in the industries, and so many activities that we are indulged in. We have to preserve this landforms also, because so as to ensure the continual availability of these minerals from this region, it is important to see that how we are extracting these minerals, how we are using these minerals. So this is the broad picture where you can visualize that if you are thinking about land and in terms of its sustainability and sustainable development, let us first of all have an idea about the different landforms which we have in a country. These different landforms have unique characteristics. The terrain is different, the soil type is different, the latitude is different, the geography is different, the weather conditions will be different. Similarly, the biotic and the abiotic components which are present in these different landforms will also be different. So before we understand the issues related with land, there are certain terms which are used most commonly when discussing about the land and its resources. You must have heard about land cover, forest cover, land cover. What is this cover? So by land cover we mean what we can see by observing. So observable physical and biological properties of the land are the land cover. When you look at the land, you can say it is the forest land if you see trees growing out there. If you see a land which doesn't have any vegetation, we can say it is a bare land. Or a land where we find that agriculture is practiced, we can say it is an agricultural land. So land cover is the observable physical and the biological characteristics of the land. On the basis of this, we have allocated how much should be the forest cover, how much should be the agricultural cover. So that defines the extent of the forest or the agricultural land in a particular area. Similarly, land quality. What is the quality? Because the different types of land forms serve different functions. Whether it is the forest or whether it is the agricultural land or the grassland, in terms of giving their functions, these are totally different. And therefore, the quality of the land refers to how much of the output we are getting from that land because of the quality. What is the quality? Means what are the physical, chemical, and the biological attributes of that land? How far it is able to, sustain, how far it is able to provide the human beings with the facilities, with the services with which it is meant to. So the quality, the land quality particularly, which is desirable, will be different for the forest land. It will be different for the marine, or you can say coastal lands. It will be different for the grassland. So this land quality, takes into consideration different parameters. These parameters are somewhat related to soil also. These are related to the groundwater also. These are related to the biota also, and also they depend upon the several, you can say, the meteorological phenomena also. So land quality will determine the land productivity in the long run. What is the productivity of the land? Similarly, land use. That is very interesting to know that what is land use. Land use, as simple as it seems, this how it is used, how we are using the land. Are we using the land for agriculture? Are we using the land for throwing the waste? Are we using the land for industrial purposes? So land use determines that out of the total land which is available to us, how we are using this land. So according to the latest findings, if you talk about India, in our country, 60.5% of the land is agricultural. So out of the total land available, most of the land used in India is for agricultural purposes, but it may be small land holdings, it may be the big agricultural farms, and the type of the agriculture being done over here at this place may also be different. Similarly, 52.8% is the arable land, where agriculture is done for a certain part of the year. 3.5% is the pasture land, which is the range land or the grasslands, where the fodder crops are grown, which constitute the grasslands of our country, and basically found in the central India, western India. These are those places where we find the grasslands in our country. 23.1% is the forest land, that also constitutes one of the main part, and rest is 16.4%. So on the basis of the different land use that we have, the pricing of the land is fixed. So land pricing, you must have, at various occasions you must have discussed about the pricing of the land, and in informal talks, we always say that how the value of the land, the financial value which we attach to a piece of land, how it depends on the quality of the land, how it depends upon the land use particularly. So land pricing, if you define it, it is the value of land on the basis of its productivity, how much it is able to give the returns in terms of the economic impacts also. But nowadays we are also, because of ecological considerations, we are also putting a kind of a cap or a price on the ecological services and environmental functions of the land, in terms of protecting the biodiversity, in terms of protecting the soil, mitigating the floods. These are some of the environmental functions of the land. So land pricing nowadays also takes into consideration the ecological or environmental benefits of the land. So that is the value which is attached to a particular piece of land. Similarly, we were talking about agricultural land, which constitutes the most. So according to 2016, it was 60.43. And look at and think about the agricultural land in our country. The economy basically depends upon the agriculture. Vast section of the people, directly or indirectly, they are dependent upon the agriculture as their main source of livelihood. And therefore it is of utmost importance that we give due importance to the quality of the land. Here I am not referring to the quality of the soil, but I'm also talking about the quality of the land. That means consideration of the engineering, technical, social aspects of the land along with their physical and the chemical properties. And therefore nowadays industrial agriculture is a concern. And industrial agriculture means growing the crops like we produce goods in an industry. We provide the raw material, we give all the inputs, and in turn we expect high output, high yield of the similar quality. That is the you can say one of the when we refer to the products in an industry, this is one of the quality, you can say, that having the uniform kind of products coming out from the X industry, Y industry. So similarly our agriculture lands, which once used to be rich in biodiversity, rich in produce, having cross connections of different types of biota and the abiotic components. Today it is just like an industry, and therefore we call it industrial farming, where we plant the seeds, or we can say the plant the crops of few selected species which can grow quickly, which can grow without giving less of inputs, and which come out as a produce of the same quality. And this has a lot of adverse effects on our health, of course, or but also on the type of the soil and other things. We will discuss about it in our other sessions when we'll be talking about agriculture and the modern agriculture practices. Similarly, 1/6 of India's land, just think about it, 1/6 of the land in our country is either barren because of addition of chemicals, because of over irrigation, because of rampant mining activities, because of so many actions we can list. So that is turned barren, the soil doesn't support any vegetation, and which has turned totally white. And similarly 5% of the total land is uncultivated, which is not cultivated, which has a potential, but it needs to be provided with mechanical and the engineering support, and also good quality crops with the help of better inputs in terms of fertilizers and irrigation facilities. And with the help of all these things, it can be converted into the agricultural land. So this slide was basically to make you aware of the actual scene of the land in our country. So actually if you see across the country, agriculture is the main which takes hold of most of the land, but that also is in a very bad shape because we are not able to practice the sustainable methods of practicing agriculture. So we have depleted our soils, and soil is not only important for the produce in terms of agricultural produce, but it connects life, people, society, and much more. It is important for our healthy survival, and this has been evident in several cases where true measures are being taken for the protection of the soil and its fertility. Now let us come to how do you classify the land in our country. There's a standard system, nine ways of classifying the land. This has been standard, and the number one land use, which is the number one category, is forest. You all know that forests constitute one of the main parts of of which the land is being used of, and with the drives of afforestation and with the norms of covering major areas of land under forest, this category is something which is very important. Now you must not confuse forest with the forest cover. When I say forest cover, it means every year we extend the area which should be under forest in a particular region. So forest cover should not be confused with the forest or the forest growth, because forest growth will give you the true picture of the amount of area which is covered by the forest. But when I say forest cover, that means the ideal situation which we have demarcated for the growth of the forest. So every year when we say that the forest cover is increasing, that means our allocation is increasing. We are not saying that the forest area has increased. So number one is forest. Then we have the barren and the unculturable land. We were just talking about it, which is of no use, which because of course, because of natural disasters also many times it happens that lands are of no use because of floods, because of earthquakes, because of other natural disasters taking place. So a large portion of the land we are wasting. It is believed that 12 million hectares of land every year we are degrading or losing. And between 2000 to 2020, 100 million hectares of the land has been degraded because of natural and more so because of anthropogenic factors. Then third category is land put to non-agricultural uses, means where industries are there, residential areas are there, commercial establishments are there, road construction is there, shops are there. Then culturable waste, which can be culturable land, which can be with the help of inputs can be converted into agricultural land. Then there are permanent pastures, grazing lands, miscellaneous tree crops and groves, bamboo thatches we are growing, fodder crops we are growing, energy plantations we are doing. They all come in this category. Then there are current fallows, means the land which at present are not used for cultivation. Many times the land is kept barren for 1 year, 2 years, then again after some years the agriculture is done on that land. So that is the current fallow, which is you can say purposely left without any vegetation, without any agriculture for a certain time of the certain duration. And other fallows are there, which means which have been abandoned for more than 5 years and where no agriculture intervention is taking place. Now it has a social message also here, so that why the land is not being used for such a long period of time. It is an agricultural land, it is a potential land, because people may have migrated, people don't want to practice agriculture. So it also gives you a lot of socio-economic messages. When you see the land use classification in detail, you will have lot of takeaways by this. And net area sown is the actual area where the agriculture is practiced, which is irrigated land, you can say. So why we are doing this land use and land use planning? Because it helps us to regulate the use of land. We have to be smart enough. We talk about other resources, but then for land also we should be very smart. We should adopt some sustainable policies so that we are able to bring out the best from the land. With the population growing around 9.7 billion by 2050, how we are able to feed these mouths? Again, we have the challenge of climate change that is also coming up. So we have to plan our resources very judiciously, so as it doesn't have any social and environmental problems in the long run, which is very, very essential. So it means, it also in a simple words we can say, so it is all about making appropriate decisions on land use. We are able to decide properly about the land use which we are going to have. And therefore, in this context, for land use planning, we must have land evaluation. What is land evaluation? Like we have evaluation for other things, we have evaluation for our work. Similarly, there is an exercise for the land evaluation where we see or calculate the performance of the land on the basis of the objectives which were set. So if it is an agricultural land, the evaluation will be based on yield per acre, how much yield we are getting. If it is an industrial land, we will be taking an account or measuring the performance in terms of the output and the taking up of the raw materials. Also, it will be noticed that whatever the project, whether it is an industries coming up, whether it is a airport coming up, the utilization of the land will be seen, and the performance will be measured for the long term sustenance, not for just the time being. So all this requires the inputs from the sociology, engineering, technical advices, hydrology. We have to have the inputs from all these diverse subject areas, and then only we can think about making proper land use evaluation. So while making land, because this is something which is very important and it will only pave the way further for sustainability of these lands. So when we say that we are evaluating the land for its performance, we need to see that the performance is not simply measured in terms of economic terms, but we also have to see the suitability of the land, whether the area is near, you can say, riverbed, whether it is good for paddy cultivation or whether it is good for sugarcane cultivation in the long run. So whether the land is suitable for bringing up of a commercial project in that area or a knowledge park in that area, what will be the state of the affairs of the population in that area, what are the trends of migration, what is the role of other factors being taking place. So suitability of the land must be taken into consideration, and then comparison of the benefits which we are obtaining. Benefits again in terms of the different categories, the different parameters which we have set. And similarly, this will not happen unless and until we take into account the multidisciplinary perspectives. Taking the land, testing the soil, checking the water resources in the area, and starting up the project work will not be sustainable in the long run unless and until we are able to do complete impact analysis. And that is one of the main function. Land evaluation is one of the main function of the environmental impact assessment that we generally go for nowadays. And also it should be relevant to the cultural and the you can say social context of that particular area, and it should be sustainable in the long run. In the present times, we see lot of projects come up, lot of over ambitious opening of, you can say, institutes, opening of schools, diversifying the land for the construction of the thermal power plants. And in the long run, if it is not sustainable, if it doesn't serve the purpose, then it all efforts, all the energy, all the inputs whatever we have given doesn't make true sense, and it is not sustainable. So checking of the sustainability is also very important. So another, you learn, please students, please don't confuse between the different commonly appearing terms that we are using. Okay, so it was the land utilization when that we are talking today, and earlier it was land use, how we are using the land, what is the current trends. Then when you say evaluation, you are taking in consideration the performance, or in simple words, what you are getting from that land. Another important term which we generally is land utilization. Means utilization again here talks about and thinks about taking appropriate measures, how appropriately, smartly we are using the land. And utilization is generally seen as a in the context of the benefits that we are getting. So this is the management of the lands which were not used before. So it is in this way that so that we are able to make appropriate for living and industrial usage also. Land utilization, when you see the examples, it will be more clear to you. When we say simple land utilization, means growing of rice, growing of wheat, growing of maize, of any one crop in a particular land, that is, or doing any one job at one particular piece of land, that is simple land utilization. Now, when I say multiple land utilization, means on the same piece of land, we are using the land and utilizing the land for dual purposes. For example, we have the timber cultivated in a place of area, and we also use it as a site for ecotourism if we are utilizing the land. Similarly, if the rice is grown along with the coconut trees, that is an example of multiple land utilization, where on the same piece of land we are getting the, and this is a trend. Agroforestry is one of the examples of multiple land utilization. So getting multiple benefits on the same piece of land at the same time, that is multiple land utilization. And compound land utilization means using the same land, but at different times of the year we are using the land for different purposes. So the land which is barren, after the season is over, that land can be used for setting up of camp or setting up of some other temporary, you can say, temporary rehabilitation for the people who have been displaced. So that is the compound land utilization. And simple example is crop rotation. So when we do crop rotation, one time of the year we are growing one crop, another time we are growing some another crop. So that is the compound land utilization. I hope it is clear. So all these theoretical things come at a halt when we see around that there are unsustainable land use practices taking place. Land degradation, desertification, soil erosion, some common issues related to the land. So according to Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, it estimates that 70% of the land which is ice free, which can be used, has been transformed. It is 75% of the world's land, as per the latest estimates. It is degraded, and by 2050 it is believed that 90% of the land will be degraded, and we will be having soil refugees as we have the climate refugees. So 1 billion soil refugees, where will the people go when the land which they are using today will not be able to sustain their livelihoods, their living in the long run? So you must be aware of these terms. Let us have a quick recap. Land degradation is quality degrading, the loss in the quality of the land, the purpose for which it is made of. And when the soil is not, or the land, you can say, it is not able to regenerate, we are adding so much of chemicals, pollutants, and when it is not able to get back to normal, we say that the land is degraded. It may happen because of the long term land use changes which has been done, because if you see 35% of the greenhouse gas emissions today, it has happened because of changes in the land use. So that land use also has an impact on the quality of the land also. And these soils which we are referring to, they are the carbon sinks. They have thrice more carbon than the carbon which is present in the biotic world. They hold the carbon. But when we say that the land is degraded, means everything is in a chaotic condition. Soil is not able to hold the carbon. It is not able to regenerate itself. It is not supporting any vegetation. The whole properties, the chemical, physical properties are disturbed. So the productivity is lost. So these are some of the figures that how much of the land is being degraded. Climate change is something, it is also causing land degradation, and it also leads to land degradation in the long run. Similarly, the huge population base which we have, and with the limited land mass available, it is prudent on our part that how sustainability we are able to use the resources which we have got. And this term is very common, like DLGT, that is desertification, land degradation. Because recently on the 14 June itself, there was address, and there was a UN COP on desertification, and our Prime Minister addressed, and it has, we have made a promise that by 2030 we will be able to restore most of our degraded lands which we are having. And this also goes in line with the theme of the Environment Day this time, that ecosystem restoration. So they also constitute one of the important ecosystems. So we know what are the causes of land degradation. We were just were talking about throughout our session. We have discussed about the different causes in some way or the other. Cutting of the trees is required for agriculture. It is being done, and it is a carbon sink. It takes away, it releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. It loses the soil gets loosened up, it reaches the water bodies in the form of sediments, it gets eroded, it is not able to support the vegetation. Our cattle, are devoid of good quality fodder, because the fodder crops are no more grown. We have focused all our attention on rice and wheat, which are the commercial crops. So in the absence of all this, the land has become a mere commodity of use. It is, it has lost all its natural properties. And there are indirect, I must also think about the indirect. Land is shortage. It's not the land shortage, land is as such as it was before, but our demands have increased. So there is acute scarcity of land, you can say. There are pressures from the economic grounds. There are opinions. There are strong viewpoints about the setting up of industries, thermal power plants, and other things. Poverty and population increase go hand in hand, because with more poor mouths we have to feed, we need to find a solution, and we find a solution only with the spaces that we have by the cutting of the trees and so on. So around 60.44 land in India is under cultivation, and it is in a, you can say, it is degrading our land. Chemicals are being used, which uh, not only are harmful for the soil per se. Addition of the soil not only damages the soil, but it has a long term effects when you continue using the chemicals on the piece of land for a long period of time. It has us, because we are talking about land and its sustainability. So let us not forget that we, as the people or the farmers or the rural people, they have to face lot of hardship because of the land getting degraded. Today around 60 to 80% we have the female farmers. In that context, think that how socially these things are interwoven, the double responsibilities that they are shouldering in, and the quality of the land that is at present makes their life more difficult. So we need to take appropriate measures, and we are saying that we are promising that very soon we will be restoring our degraded lands. But at present, we have to have a proper, with the help of land use data only, we can say that how much of the land is degraded, because at present 29.32% of the land is degraded, but only 1.5% is targeted for restoration. The situation will be very difficult in the coming times. Similarly, desertification is a common term, which means that increase in the area under deserts. Mostly 40% of the land which is available is arid, and arid regions generally suffer the more because of land degrading activities. So because of high temperatures, because of shortage of rainfall, because of increase in the wind speed, because of droughts taking place, because of, we can say that pandemics like this which are occurring, and in the future you never know that the type of interactions we are having, what kind of zoonotic diseases will come up. So this also needs to think, and we have made good measures. We hosted UN COP 2019 on desertification, which was held. So according to European Commission also, 75% of the total land has already been degraded. This I have already mentioned. So desertification is one of the crucial issues which we have to think about it. And 2021 year is significant, because we are having UNFCDD this year, CBD we are having, and UN COP. So conventions of the UN, mostly this year we are having all the three. So this makes a unique year, and therefore we must, at the policy level, at the scientific level, at the research level, at the academic level, implementation, rules, regulations, these are all the pillars, without which we cannot help to solve all these mounting problems which we are having today. Likewise, soil erosion, you must be aware that what is soil erosion. It is taking away of the soil. The topsoil is the fertile soil, and it takes hundreds of years to form a centimeter of soil, good quality soil. But we are losing soil. We are losing soil because of high speed wind, because of floods taking place, because of trees being cut down, because of lack of biotic, you can say, involvement which is there. So soil also, because a part of the land which is important for agriculture is the soil. We need, because soil, it is said that soil is important for grain, soil is important for rain. Without soil, we cannot flourish. Our civilization cannot flourish, agriculture cannot happen, organisms cannot thrive, rains will not come, trees will not be able to hold. So it is important resource, and we must make all measures for its, and this is possible through integrated land management. We discuss, because land, how smartly we use the land is integrated land management, not focusing on x or y aspect, but we have seen different uses of the land, how best we are able to utilize the properties of the land in such a way that maximum benefits are obtained. Best combinations can be done, that can be done by integrated land management only. And this is possible by identifying the needs of the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? The villagers, the gram panchayats, they are the stakeholders. The farmers are the stakeholders, the middlemen, the governments at different level, the different indirect jobs which are given because of the land and land use practices, they are the stakeholders. And also utilizing and knowing about the potential of the land, knowing about the different spatial planning with the help of GIS and remote sensing facilities which is available today. With the help of all these measures, and a good combination, I should say, that without institutional support, without having proper infrastructure, for, if you talk about the energy plantations also, or any other purpose fodder crops we are growing on the land, we need infrastructure, we need awareness, we need training of the people, that, and regulations that play a very important role, without which we cannot make much difference. And therefore we hope to achieve land degradation neutrality, that is LDN, which is commonly used nowadays, by 2030. And sustainable development goal 15 talks about life on land. So internationally also, much of the importance has been given on this resource. And the different targets which have been specified under SDG 15, they discuss about the different uses of the land, stopping of land eroding practices, and controlling deforestation, and usage of the land in a sustainable manner. All these are the main highlights of SDG 15, and it is possible by fixing rights, rewards, and responsibilities. We say it is the 3 R's of land management. Tribal rights, forest rights, are the people aware that in that context we say that rights of the people, that the land tenures, in whose name the land has been given, because in India after independence there have been different, land has been considered one of the main revenue generating sources. We had the zamindari system, we had the Rotwari system, we had the Maharani system, the different systems by virtue of which the revenue was collected. But with due course of time, today also there are challenges. The land rights are not known to the people. Land tenure are not actually given in the name of the female heads. Tribals who have been inhabiting the land for long are devoid of their rights. So we have to fix the rights, we have to give the rewards for taking care of the land, for different community driven activities, and also we have to fix the responsibilities of the different stakeholders which are involved. So I conclude that land is a natural resource, of course we know that, but it supports other life forms. If we talk about the water also, the land is supporting minerals. We are living on land, agriculture is done on land, Rocks are on land, minerals are on land, everything is on land. Land sustains us. And when we are not able to manage the land properly, it leads to problems, it leads to barriers for sustainable development. And when I say sustainable development, it doesn't only mean taking care of the land, but it also adds to the biodiversity within, the water resources management, the judicious use of the fossil fuels, minerals, taking care of the different environmental aspects are related to land. That is very essential. And this is possible with the help of information, involvement, empowerment, facilitation. Knowledge of the people is very essential, because we have not been able to give due importance, and how we can manage the land will only decide our course of survival in the times to come. So with this I'm ending here. If you have anything to ask, we can discuss.
Hello, ma'am. This is Bhaskar. Is open for questions.